cut out the comparing. Biggest tip of the day, do not compare who's got it worse and who's got it better. Work as a team, make it a team effort.
Welcome to the Beers with a Minor podcast, episode number 23. This week is a happy hour episode. Welcome back, Kirsty O'Callaghan, author of a fantastic book, Separated by Work, the essential handbook that helps every family to survive and thrive when separated by work. Kirsty is also a FIFO wife, mum, business owner, executive consultant, life coach, blogger, public speaker, trainer and assessor, and of course, an author. This is part 2 of our interview. I really do suggest that you head back to listen to that episode first if you haven't already heard it. You can find that at madmumsy.com/beers16. That's the number 16. I listened to this again this morning and we covered so much about FIFO life and families, Kirsty's journey and even public speaking and what it was like the first time she went on stage. That's why we had to break it up into 2 episodes. It's been a couple of months since then and I'm glad we have finally managed to catch up. Welcome back to the Beers with a Minor podcast, Kirsty, my first return guest.
Wow, I'm very, very honoured to be here.
We've both been very busy.
Yes.
I know you've been doing a lot of public speaking and all sorts of things. Oh, no, I won't be home this week. I'm travelling here, there and everywhere. That sounds very exciting.
Yeah. I've had quite a bit on, so the book's going really well. Also, with the work I've been doing in the FIFO community as well as the Lions community and mentoring women in business, I also was up for an award for a businesswoman of merit in our community, so in Brisbane. So that was really exciting times as well.
Was there a big gala event?
Yeah, it was lovely.
You got to frock up a little bit.
And cocktail parties and all sorts of things. It was very nice. I had to go and buy some new dresses and shoes.
Oh, terrible.
No, the life of a FIFO wife.
Oh, dear. Well, congratulations on that. We just had a little bit of a chat and I said, well, I'm having a beer. Are you having a wine today? Because we discovered in the first episode that white wine was your favourite beverage and you were having a cup of tea.
Yeah, and I'm having a cup of tea because the celebrations over the last month went on a bit too long and I think my body is thanking me for staying off the wine for a while.
It gets like that sometimes, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm heading over to my mum's after our interview for prawns and salad for tea, and there'll be a couple of wines involved with that. And then tomorrow I head out for a week of night shifts with 0 alcohol. So this is my last day of any beer for a week anyway.
Prawn and beer.
But sometimes we have to listen to our bodies, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely, to keep up with everything we need to.
Would you like to just quickly explain, in case someone hasn't listened, they haven't done their homework and listened to the first episode, just quickly explain the shortened version, why you wrote the book and what we covered in the first part, perhaps just a quick outline, and then we'll move on to the second part.
Sure.
How does that sound?
Yeah. Well, a couple of years ago, it was a labour of love for 18 months to write my book. And a couple of years ago, I was speaking to my husband's boss. When he came over there, they both have motorbikes, and he'd brought over his new toy so the boys could go and play. And my husband was out riding his new motorbike, and his boss was saying to me, knowing that resilience was one of the key areas I spoke and consulted on in my business, said, you should write a book for FIFO. They really need something about resilience and relationships out there and in the families. And it was amazing. It just, when the idea hit me, I just knew it was right to go ahead with. And so I started writing. And so this book ended up covering 6 areas. So there's 6 parts, and they include about FIFO and the journey and some quick tips and check sheets to start with. And then all about self-care. So that's resilience and your mental and emotional and physical health and even organising your environment, and then the care of others, so that's other people, friends, family, your relationships, and then the children, what you least expect, because a lot of people don't realise there's going to be a lot of big and little things and unexpected things that you're going to have to deal with. And then it talks about the new normal and how to go ahead and be a successful FIFO family. And because I wasn't an expert on everything that I wrote about, I also got experts in their field to come in, and they contributed as well. So it ended up being a 280-page labour of love, that was launched in March and has been so well received by the community. I'm so excited, and so much support out there from professionals, organisations, as well as individuals, and women ringing me saying, I just couldn't stop crying. You really understood where I was at. And yeah, so I'm really, really happy with that.
And you should be. You should be very proud of your baby. I got her
My
sitting
paper
right
baby.
next to me. Yeah, it's quite well worn actually. When you read a book in a truck,
Yeah.
it always, I'll show you. It always ends up.
Oh, look, it's well loved.
Black pages,
Yeah.
because it's just dirty. Well worn and well loved.
Because not everybody needs to know about everything. But if you're having problems with your children, what section can you open up to? If you're having problems in your relationship, or you want to get your health back on track, what section do you open up to? And it is part memoir, part workbook. I've interviewed quite a few people in the industry. So yeah, it's not just by me. There's so many people that contribute to this, and I'm so very proud of them all.
There's some great advice in there, and don't underestimate yourself. You're one of my resident experts.
Thank you.
So the next section really that we were up to, it was certainly an attention getter, I believe.
Yeah.
So let's start there with the chapter called 50 Shades of Away.
How good is that?
Love it.
I know. It was funny how that came about. I was actually having a wine with one of my closest friends, and I said, I'm writing about relationships at the moment, but I can't get a grip on what to call it. And she said, what about 50 Shades of Away? And I went, oh my God, that is, I said, I'm stealing that. She said, you could have it. So it just fit. It just fit because, 50 Shades of Grey, there's some differences there about their relationship that some people didn't get. Whereas 50 Shades of Away, there's certainly some parts of our relationship that people don't get when we have a partner that works away. So, yeah.
That's right. So what sort of help and advice do you have for the relationship side of things? And you had another expert in on that as well?
No, the relationships one I wrote about.
Okay.
Relationships, resilience and results are my key areas that I work in. And I got very excited about this because I wanted people to know, not necessarily from a intimate point of view, but to keep a relationship close and connected, and to keep that friendship and that love in your relationship. How do we go about it? I also wanted to include in there some comments and helpful tips about friends and family as well, because they can have a huge impact about how the person that's either on site or even the person at home feels about the other partner, depending on where they're coming from with their thoughts on what you're doing. So I wrote it from those different aspects, and also interviewed different couples and got their point of view. And what was really interesting and quite consistent is that every couple was different. So depending on their age, depending on where they'd come from, depending on where they were at in their relationship, whether they had children or not, how supportive their family was, whether they were around family or they moved away from family, everybody was really different. But one common theme through everything was if they were having issues, really big issues, it wasn't because of FIFO. It was the fact that it was already there. And FIFO really puts the magnifying glass on those. It really lights them up. So it's not, I personally don't think that FIFO creates the issues in relationships. As long as you've got you need relationship skills to make a relationship work, whether you're away or not. And I provide some of those in the book, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But if you are lacking confidence, if you're insecure, if you don't communicate properly, if you really do rely a lot on your family and all of a sudden you move away from them, FIFO won't create that problem, it will magnify it.
That's definitely something I picked up from our first interview back in episode 16, was because you corrected me on a lot of things. Oh, I'll reframe that then, which was quite interesting because I thought, I had my thoughts on it, but it was really refreshing to have a different spin on a few things. And that was one of them, definitely.
Yeah.
So what sort of skills do you think help so that the magnification doesn't,
Well, remembering,
start the fire on the page.
yeah, remembering that it's about sitting down with your partner and discussing what your individual needs are. So, for example, to begin with, my husband and I had a baby at the time because we've been doing this for quite some time, and my youngest is 9 and my oldest is 21 now. And so at the time I had 2 preteens and a baby. So when he first went away, I certainly needed to debrief with him, and we were away from family every day. And as the years went on and FIFO becomes your new normal, we didn't have to speak every day. And now we probably speak at length 3 times a week. And if there's anything in between, we'll have a quick chat or text or things like that. Some people really feel they need to have that morning text, good morning, how you going, thinking of you, and end the day before they go to bed with that as well as have a chat in between. I actually would find that like another job. For me personally, that would be way too much to put on my plate. I get up at the beginning of the day and I'm ready to Roxy rolls. I'm off doing my chores and got my list ready in my head, and to add those other things to it would be too much for my routine. And so we know when we're going to talk. For other people, it's exactly what they need. So it's really sitting down and discussing what are our needs and how can we both meet them and stay connected. The other thing is to remember, and I speak about oxytocin in the book, and this is really important, that oxytocin is the trust and bonding hormone, and it's also the love hormone. So one of the things that when you're apart is that quite often, unless it's children, and if you've got teenagers, it definitely won't be them, you're not getting anybody touching you.
So, it won't be. They'll be slamming the door, going in the bedroom.
And if you're not a hugger like me, that means 0 touch. so that makes it very, very hard on the person left at home and the person that is away as well, because that touch isn't happening. So that oxytocin isn't being set off in your system. And quite often that is where the strain's coming in and the stress is coming in. And once you identify that, you can work out what to do with that, or you can remind yourself that when you're feeling a bit flat and you're really, really missing them, it could be the touch that you miss the most. I remember one of the things when my husband first started working away that I missed the most was as we would walk into a shop, he'd put his hand on my lower back. And just little things like that. I really missed that. And I hadn't noticed he'd done it till he was not doing it. So
because he wasn't there.
Yeah, because he wasn't there.
Touching back on oxytocin, that's such a great word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oxytocin. I'm the sort of person that needs that little text before bed and in the morning.
Yeah.
And sometimes myself and my partner, the real miner, that's it, different shifts and rosters. But he knows now, I've trained him, that I just need... Sometimes it doesn't happen and it's not the end of the world, close to it, but not the end of the world. But just those 3, I send him 3 little kisses. He sends back 3 little hugs.
Yeah.
Or he'll send me 3 little hugs. That means he's thinking about me. He's got to go to sleep now.
Yeah.
Occasionally back when I started training him and sitting down and having that discussion like you're saying, this is all I need. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to text every 4 days.
Yeah.
I need more than that. And my question, I guess, is, can that meet the oxytocin level if you can't have an actual hug, but you get a little text with a love heart on it or something? It's kind of like a little virtual hug.
Yeah. Well, I can't answer that 100%.
You're not a scientist. What are you doing on my show?
Only to say that oxytocin, when it's set off, reduces stress. So anything that allows you to feel closer to your partner or a person that reduces that stress response would be oxytocin or something very similar, I would say. So it's all about those hormones that reduce stress, and feeling that you are connected in some way. The touch, the trust and bonding, the love hormone definitely is all about that trust, feeling grateful, feeling connected.
Definitely. And that's, as we learned in our episode with Jody Davis, life coach and coal miner, episode 13.
Yep.
Jody said that the need to feel connected is one of our 6 human needs.
Yes. Yeah.
So
With the
if
sense
your
of
only
belonging.
connection is, that's right, if one of your main connections is out of the mine, or you're the one out of the mine, away from everyone, you need to find the way to feel connected.
Yeah.
So
That's exactly
sitting down and working out, you as a couple, what you want. And it can change and evolve as well.
That's it, and
like,
that's
really,
what
you
happened
only
to
have
us.
to message me on my birthday or whatever.
Let's hope.
Do not ever not message me or ring me on my birthday. That's it. We're done.
Yeah, but the most important thing, like you say, is working these things out honestly with each other. And sometimes it's okay to say, I don't know what is going to work, because we are romanticized by what's on TV, what our family experiences may be, what other people have done wrong. So we think that that's the way to do things or not to do things. So sometimes we can start a FIFO journey or even continue a FIFO journey going, I actually don't know what's going to work. So can we work on this together? Can we be strong enough to work out whether we need to be contacting each other all the time, what our routine is going to be when we get home? If it doesn't work, can we be honest enough about it and move on to the next solution? Because things will change, and as kids grow, it changes even more. You know, the needs of a mum of 3 kids under 5 is going to be very different to the needs of a mum and dad whose kids have left home.
That's right.
I just, before we move on, one of the biggest traps that happens, and I talk a little bit at length about this in the book, is the comparing trap. And I certainly was in it when we first started, and it's very, very toxic to anyone that's separated by work, and that's comparing who's got the most on, who's earning the most money, who's contributing more, who's making the most phone calls, who's the most needy, who's not, who's working the most hours, who's getting their dinner cooked for them and who's not, and and all those sort of things. So be very, very aware of the comparing trap, because there is no comparison. I can't compare working in the heat that my husband works in and basically living for 6 weeks in a little tin shack. And he might have great facilities and whatnot, but he's still out there in the middle of nowhere without his family. I can't compare that to some of the good or bad days that I've gone through here with 3 kids, running a business, and all the other bits and pieces that come with that. And one of my children has a mental illness. So to even begin to have the comparing game would be fraught with danger. But as human beings, we tend to want to do that, to defend ourselves, to put our hand up and go, I'm really important. So the trick to overcome that is to admit that things are different, accept that it's different for each other, just listen to each other, but also understand that we all have different responsibilities and different strengths. So we just get on with the day that we're responsible for and meet in the middle at the end.
So by comparing, you don't mean comparing yourself to the Joneses.
No.
You mean with each other.
Who's got it tougher?
Who's got better? I'm working out at work. You're just at home with the kids every day. That's nothing. Exactly. Or vice versa. Yeah. I see with you.
Yeah, like, you know, I'm flying and I'm in the Qantas Club right now, and you know, my husband's in the Qantas Club right now, and I might be having to deal with trying to get 3 kids out the door and plan the day and get work done, and one of them's sick and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and you've got it so easy.
Yeah, and it causes so much stress. So, yeah, cut out the comparing. Biggest tip of the day, do not compare who's got it worse and who's got it better. Work as a team. Make it a team effort.
Team effort, that's gold right there. So when it comes to kids, parenting, this could take 3 days.
Well, there's 4 chapters in the book.
Right, go.
Yeah, I thought it was really, the reason there's 4 chapters is there's a chapter on FIFO parenting challenges, and we know the challenges are there. One parent's away. However, I must say that when my husband wasn't doing FIFO, he was leaving to go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning because he worked in the city, and getting home anywhere between 6 and 7 at night. I actually can't tell you, other than having our weekends together, what was tougher, you know, when you have young children. But yet there are those challenges with FIFO parenting. The one parent at home may not get a break. except for friends and family. And even then, that's not unconditional because they're not the parents of the child. And the person that's away really, really misses their children, is missing out on milestones, and that's just heartbreaking. So it's about finding the balance in there. I also felt, because I had a child that had a mental illness, and I had come across many of my clients actually had children with ASD, special needs, that were FIFO families. I thought it was really important to have some chapters in there about being able to deal with those children as well, and not just the ones that were diagnosed, but the ones that might be having a difficult year, might be a little bit more difficult behaviourally. So to cover certain aspects of those so that the parents could feel understood and have firm strategies around that.
What a great way to look at it. The special needs section, I thought, is good to cover. Like you say, children change. And they're growing and they're going through new things. And then as their parents and carers, we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So as they get older, as they change schools, or a new person might come into their circle that, you know, I'm not friends with my bestie anymore, like three's a crowd. That was always an issue when I was growing up, I remember. Best friends forever. This week, not next week. Oh, we're besties again. The other one's on the outer. You know, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
it's also tough for parents, because parent guilt is never far away from any parent. However, I've found that it is almost a disease with FIFO parents. The guilt, am I doing the right thing? Are we doing the right thing? I'm really frustrated and angry and emotionally exhausted right now, so I've just yelled at my child. And the parent that's away, I'm not there enough. Am I the reason that they may be finding it tough right now? And there's no need to have any guilt. You know, guilt's just an emotional indicator that something could be done differently. It doesn't mean that, it may mean that FIFO isn't going to work for your family, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. It's just, how can we be reframing this and handling it differently? What can we be doing that's going to suit our lifestyle more than trying to do it how we used to do it when we weren't separated by work?
That's right. And a lot of the times you're going through it for the first time anyway. You know, I remember when my daughter was 11, it's a well-known story in my family. I got a letter home from the school teacher. We all did, the whole class. Love your 11-year-old, for they will only be 11 once.
Yeah.
And I was ready to pack her off to boarding school or something. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to play this mummy game, you know. I had another daughter 4 years younger. She was all right. But I've always remembered that. Love your 11-year-old, because they'll only be 11 once. And then they're 13, and then they're 15, and then they're, you know, 28.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But what I mean is that will come no matter FIFO or not. You still have to have those issues. And if you as a couple can talk them over, how are we going to all get through this as a family?
Yep.
That's awesome to be able to do that, whether you're FIFO family or not, just whatever your circumstances are.
That's exactly right. And it's like with your relationship, what works today might not work tomorrow, but also discussing how can we make this work, and how can we have each other's back, either when the person that's away comes home or the one that is at home. How can we have each other's back and also hear what our child needs and make deals around that? Because quite often children are acting out because they don't feel heard. And that's why I also I interviewed, I think it was 11 or 15 children about how they felt. And they were aged from, I think the youngest one was 7, right through to, the oldest one was 38, but her dad worked away when she was younger. And to get the different perspectives. And it brings a tear to your eye, some of their stories.
I'm sorry, I'll interrupt. I'm smiling and tear to my eye as well, reflecting on those stories.
Yeah.
They were priceless.
But a lot of us don't stop and think to ask them, but also just to accept where they're at, because that's all sometimes they need, is just to be heard. And it's just the way they're feeling. And I often say to my kids, I say, we're doing this for a reason, and we've discussed with them, why we're doing it, and it's the work style that we have, and everything comes with sacrifices. But how do you think we could keep in touch more? How do you think this could be done better? And the minute they're heard, and the minute we just respect where they're coming from, it's amazing that the stress is gone. They're allowed to feel like that. And they're also allowed to feel really great when we can do really super cool things because of the work choice we've chosen.
Yeah, and when Dad is home for 3 weeks because he just was away for 3 weeks.
That's exactly right. So it's teaching them that everything in life comes with the up and the down. Everything is always in balance, and this is just our up and our down. And that children also see it in a particular way. And I encourage parents to ask their kids, how are you seeing it? How are you feeling about it? What would you like to be different if we could change anything? Because most of their playing out is when they don't feel heard or they're confused.
And they're great questions to ask once again, even if you're not doing a FIFO life.
Yeah.
Just life in general.
100%.
Sit down. How often as a parent do we sit down and ask them what they would like?
Yeah.
They'd want more money. Let me go, I want to go to the skate park every day and come home when I feel like it or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you still have to have but we've got to keep you safe. And
yeah, it's all about balance.
Can you tell how old my grandson is? Yeah. Might be nearly 15.
Yeah, that's right. But it's having that communication, because kids will be good and have up and down days and be naughty, and parents are good and have up and down days, and sometimes we're naughty. But it's being able to express yourself no matter where you're at. And I think that if you allow a child to express themselves emotionally, when we express ourselves emotionally, it's not a bad thing. We can say to the kids, look, Dad just flew out today and I'm really not feeling 100%. I'm feeling a bit drained. I'm feeling a bit sad. Let's just watch a movie today. And they're more than happy to assist us through that. And then they can own their own feelings as well. So it just offsets all these issues that could happen.
As you mentioned earlier, that you have a child with, did you say a mental?
Yeah, he's got a mental illness. So he's got a
mental illness.
Yeah, pyrrole disorder, which is it raises his anxiety. It's a genetically determined chemical imbalance, which he's got. So basically he has poor stress control and he gets anxiety and mood swings. As he's got older, it hasn't really gone away. There's nutritional aspects that can help him to be calmer, but as a teenager, I don't think teenagers care too much for nutrition.
No, unless it's got the big M in front of it.
And proper nutritional aspects, no matter how well they were brought up. And so that throws things, and so we've managed that and help him manage it through the years. But it has been difficult because that's put the added pressure on our family, and for me to have to deal with that sometimes by myself. And for when Paddy's rung and he's away and he feels quite useless because there's nothing he can do if I'm really upset, or to be that buffer. And quite often you can't talk to them over the phone, because when he does, it could make the situation worse, because you aren't there to see the reaction or the body language or to know that they've switched off.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess with your clients and with your interviews and with your experts, did you come across many other people who have the same sort of challenges with kids with special needs?
Yeah,
you'd really need a support network around you, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and it really is about building that village around your child. So getting the teachers on board, because this is another thing with learning behaviours and learning difficulties, getting those teachers on board, not thinking it's just because of FIFO, but we are a FIFO family. So how can we help our child to be learning better, to more easier for learning strategies? What can we be doing around that, instead of just thinking it's because mum or dad is working away? Sometimes it is, but then let's work out whether that's it, or are there other things we can be doing? Is mum just really stressed and not found the routine that works for her? So that's why the child is also stressed or not in a really good really good habit of behaviour around homework and things like that is mum chasing around two little children and not able to follow through with homework routines. So it's looking at what is actually happening, taking a full overview, talking to your team, so that could be family, that could be teachers, it could be both of them, it could be friends. And how can I make this easier for me and my child? And also including all the way through working together as a couple in the best interest of their child.
Yeah, and looking at it realistically and not in denial or anything. And like you say, not just blaming bloody FIFO life.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you were here and the blame game, the comparing game. Yeah. It's all right for you. You get to fly out to camp. You don't have to stay here and deal with this now.
Yeah. And so no matter if you've got a child that's challenged or not, those routines are so very important because it provides, sometimes it's the thing that can provide the safety that FIFO sometimes takes away from a family. So that routine is very safe. So the child knows exactly what's going on, exactly what's expected. Mum knows exactly what's going on, and dad knows exactly what's going on. And everybody can rest in that routine.
That's right. And like you say, it's a team all the way through. That seems to be a big message overall from you, is the whole family be a team, even if it's, I was going to say you and your dog. Yeah. But someone has to look after the dog when you go out to work. Exactly. I was actually at the hairdresser's the other day, and it came up about working away, and they said they know people that go away, lock up their dogs for a week. Oh my God, I know, I was horrified. Give them big pile of bickies and water and chain them up and shade and think that they're going to be all right. Yeah. But then they get out and the whole neighbourhood has to look after them, let alone the poor dog.
Yeah.
So
it's responsibility.
You need a strategy. Who's going to go and look after your dog? It's a team effort.
It is a team effort. That's exactly right. Yeah. And it is like anything. You're a family. And even if you look at a sporting team, which has just come into my mind, you look at a sporting team, there's all different positions. We're not all meant to be the same, but we need to understand what other people's position is, and you need to take responsibility for your position. So if we're all certain of our positions, we've all got our game strategy in play, we've all got our routines around disciplines that we need to be doing in training, there's no way it's not going to work, but it's going to be tough. And then there's going to be some really good wins there as well. So FIFO families could be much like a winning sporting team.
Oh, yes. We won't. Oh, I'm such a footy head. I'm not even going to
don't even get me
go down that track at the moment with grand finals on this weekend. Both my teams are out, so yeah, we won't talk football. But that's a good segue into being able to deal with expected and unexpected circumstances that come up. As a family, we have to deal with those as well.
It's all covered in the book. If you want to know more, get the book.
Exactly right. Yes. I will share all of the links to the book at madmumsy.com/beers23. That will be this episode.
So the fifth section of the book is about from the little things trouble can be brewing. So I spend time talking about the little things that can make a difference in relationships that people might not realise over a period of time will turn into something quite big. And the reason this came up was we went to breakfast while I was writing the book and with another FIFO couple that we've been friends with for a long time. And we were joking about the amount of washing that has to be done when they get home and the amount of toilet paper they use. And it was really irritating. And we were very passionate about getting our point across about how inconvenient it was that there was more washing and more toilet paper usage. and it made me realise that there's lots of little things that can build up if they're not discussed. Because depending on your roster, you could be away from each other. Well, at the moment, we're on a 6 and 2, so 6 weeks away, 2 weeks home. And so during that time, there's a lot of routines and habits you get into that when they're home, it can really get in the way. So it's about looking at it and going, how can we address this so it doesn't become a problem? I never wanted to be one of those couples that said it's such a pain when you're home.
Ouch.
Yeah, and I know that happens, and sometimes it feels like that, but I wanted to make sure the little things were either made funny or talked about before they became big things. And I felt it an inconvenience that my husband was home. And I wanted other people to be able to think about that too. And and then writing the unexpected chapter, that was definitely from the heart, because after all our years of doing FIFO, we had so many things I didn't expect happen. From car accidents to missed formals to having a whole year where it was never home for any special occasion, and how we handled that. And it was pretty tough sometimes. It was really tough sometimes trying to pretend that everything was okay and making sure he felt in the loop, because he was feeling really bad about things as well. And however, it is really good when you can know these things are going to happen and how to deal with it, and know you're not alone, that this isn't just happening to you and because of FIFO. And when I had the car accident, it was quite funny, really. That
hilarious! I bet.
It was quite a bad
car accident.
I know. And I thought, my first thought was, of course it's going to happen when he's away. And my daughter was in the car for me, and she sort of took care of things, and we ended up getting home, and I rang the insurance company and burst into tears when I spoke to the lady on the phone. As soon as I heard her voice, I just burst into tears. And then I tried to ring Paddy, and he didn't answer his phone. And so he texts back saying, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you back later. And so I text back and said, okay, I've just been in a car accident. Within 2 seconds.
I'll call you back later.
He practically jumped across the desk and rang me straight away. And
God love
you. Yeah, and we were lucky enough at that time they were still allowed to use their phones during the day on site. Now, not so lucky. So it's knowing who your support group is if something does go wrong, the things that can go wrong and how to deal with them. When my daughter did grade 12, he unfortunately wasn't able to be here for any of the formal, the graduation, any of the special occasions when she went to schoolies, all that sort of thing. So how we took care of it through Skype, pictures, taking the iPad around with us everywhere, and he was on it.
Like a robot. Here, say hi to my dad.
And allowing her to feel his presence there, as well as him feel included. And that was really, really important. And it wasn't till the end of the year I let everybody know how tough it was for me. And that's just the way I dealt with it. I just thought, I can do this, and then at the end you're all going to hear how I held it all together.
When I write this book, you'll know what really happened.
And it's really good, from things from kids getting sick to lots of other things that happen.
And as a worker who's away, it can get tough when stuff goes on and you don't know how to deal with it, or how to contact, or you haven't heard from anyone, and it might be all fixed, but no one bothered to tell you.
Yeah.
Can you just shoot me a text that, someone did come and get the tow truck and pick you up, or like if you couldn't have got away from that meeting or something.
Yeah.
So again, communication, support network, especially for unexpected times. And like you say, having a plan, at least to have sat down and had a bit of a chat about things and what can happen. And still, again, you learn, like you say, by doing it.
Yep.
And it's going to keep changing, and you can't plan too much for what life is going to throw at you, because, that's living, isn't it?
I know. My 8 years of being a FIFO wife, and, my nearly 25 years of being a counsellor has certainly showed me that life isn't a fly by the seat of your pants exercise. It really isn't. You definitely have.
Feels like it,
you definitely have to be with the flow. You definitely have to trust your gut on a lot of things. However, you certainly need to be prepared and to plan and to have a support network. And sometimes it pays not to think that things are going to go wrong, but if they did, what's the best course of action? So to be prepared, but yet let life do its thing as well. So some of us just go through this and think that it's just going to work, or it's not going to work. And I don't think isn't going to bring you success. FIFO can be such a great thing in people's lives. It can bring about such success, job satisfaction, things for your family that you might not have been able to get, so many career opportunities and opportunities to do things you might not have otherwise done. And it's about working together, getting your values straight, working out what you want this life to provide, and allowing your children to be in on that if you have children. That's going to bring about that success, because it's not just about the job. It is about, and even if you're single, it's about what is the life going to bring for you. And not just having an exit plan either. I hear a lot of people when they're talking about FIFO saying, make sure you have an exit plan and stick to it. Don't stay in it. But you know what? Sometimes you get to your 2 years, because I hear 2 years a lot, and I don't know who first came up with that, but I'm tending to disagree with that train of thought. But get in it for 2 years, then get out. And sometimes you might actually like doing what you're doing, and you should be allowed to say that. Or sometimes you don't like it 1 year and the next year you do like it again. So just do and be what you want, but set yourself up for success in this lifestyle, and understand it's going to have struggles. It's going to have sacrifices. But most things in life, we have one of the sayings in our family is with great effort comes great reward. So if you want something really big, work at it. Make the most of it. Feel lucky. We have a job.
Yeah, that's right. And as you say, it doesn't mean you have to do it forever, but you might love it and want to do it forever.
Yeah.
Or like Mad Mumsy, you might love it and want to talk about it forever.
Yeah, like me, you might love
not
it
actually
and want to
go
write
and
a
do
book
it
about
anymore.
it.
I just want to talk about it now.
I don't know if I love it. I can't say that I love our work choice. However, it's for a purpose, and it has a means, and it brings us satisfaction in more ways than it takes from us. And that's the way we choose to look at it.
And another big thing I got from our last episode was how you said, yes, he's away for a long time, but he's also home for a long time. Yeah. So you, as a family, choose to look at that's such a big plus over money, this, that, everything else, is the actual full amount of time that he's there.
Yeah.
And you're all together. Not like you say, had a job in the city and come home 7 o'clock at night and you just buggered and you're not there, and
you're not really there
in bed, and you might get Saturday afternoon and Sunday together, but you got to mow the lawn.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You could both mow the lawn. That might help.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
That's right. That'll come up. That comes up in episode I'm actually editing this afternoon or now. And that will be with CW, who's a lady who's an operator. I actually trained her to drive a truck, and now she drives more stuff than I do, and she's freaking awesome. I love her, and she's had a kid, and she left mining, but she's gone back and lives in town now, mining town. But she enjoys it, and again, it won't be forever. But her big thing about I can't remember where it came up in the episode, but it really stuck with me, was about she was single at the time, and how much she enjoyed being able to have lots of 5 full days with her nieces and nephews, and go and take them to school and pick them up and dress up and hang out with their sister and, do all those sort of things that she couldn't do as her previous job. She worked really long hours. I believe she was in the kitchen side of things, really long split shifts. So she'd pop in and see them and then go and have to do the, dinner service and stuff like that. And that was her reason for continuing on. So if you want to listen to that, head to madmumsy.com/beers22. I just touched back on the unexpected things. We're in Queensland, and I know some of the big unexpected things we have to deal with are weather events and cyclones. And so what's the strategy there? You have to have your cyclone kit ready, and where are you going to go if it's coming close? You have to go. Well, I remember we had one, and my mum and another lady who was a FIFO wife, they came out to our mining town because it was safer than where they were right on the beach. Sure. But then trees went down out out at our little town as well, and they were freaking out. Going, what did we come here for? They stayed in my little unit. Oh dear! So they're the sort of things to plan for the person who's left home, and then also to know that if you're at work, what happens? Well, usually, once it gets to a certain level, the mine company have strategies in place, and when it gets to this point, they'll let us go home and things like that.
Well,
so
we've gone through that as well.
You need to plan for that.
Yeah, because we get storms in Brisbane, and my husband, where he is over in WA, they get cyclones and all sorts of weather events over there. There was one, I think it was last year or the year before, where I couldn't speak to him for a whole week because of what happened, and we didn't know if he was actually going to get home. But again, that's the prior preparation, the talking about it. How do you feel about that? Being able to express how you feel without somebody saying, don't be silly. Really, really important. Yeah. And don't say, oh, it's just a house, you'll be all right. Especially when you've got the mum there with the kids and it's more than a house, that's your home. So being able to communicate really effectively with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We might move on to the next section. Do you think?
Yep.
I think this is something that Mad Mumsy and myself, I dream about it all the time, but I haven't actually thought of it as a topic really to cover until I read your book, and I thought that was awesome. And it's life after FIFO.
Yeah, very important. And the reason again that I put that in there was two of our friends, our close friends, are FIFO couples, and their husbands had left FIFO, and we sat back and were getting quite concerned because their relationships were failing as soon as they left, and this happy ending wasn't looking like it was going to be a happy ending at all. And luckily, though, both those couples are still together and as happy as ever.
Oh, some good news.
But to watch that to start with, I thought that was very, very important to put in the book as well, was how do we deal with this and what happens on either side? So all of a sudden you've got someone coming home and your whole routine of your whole home changes. The person that's come home is also trying to fit back into that and into a normal type of life, because the culture in an office or a tradies job going to work and coming home every day is very, very different to the culture that's on site and most FIFO sites. So they're dealing with that as well as fitting back in at home, the children fitting back in with the other parent being there all the time, the dynamics. So there is a time where both people, or all the people really in the family, need to be able to talk about what's happening. And so when I wrote about it in the book, I said, think about, in section 1 of the book, we were understanding and preparing and making a plan and having your why. Turn it around and take those same principles and make it life after FIFO. The same with your self-care life after FIFO, caring for others life after FIFO, and take all those same principles, but make sure you apply them. Don't just think you're going to come home and your whole work style changes, but your lifestyle is going to get even better, because it's a big adjustment.
That, just as you were speaking then, I wrote it down so I remembered to bring it up. My sister, Hard Hat Mentor, who you can listen to in episode 8, madmumsy.com/beers8, shooting the breeze with my sister, who rocks. But she, last week, I think she had her first one, and she's having meetups. She is over in WA. Now, a lot of people have meetups for families, but she has seen the need for meetups of FIFO workers during the downturn who aren't working, who don't have a crew mentality to hang out with anymore because they're not going to work.
Yep.
They haven't got a job. They can't find a job as yet. They're in between jobs, as we like to say.
Yeah.
And she had her first one and had quite a good turn up, and I'm speaking to her tonight to find out all about it, and they've scheduled the next one. And what I thought was classic my sister, it's how we roll, we're, bit out there, a bit different. She said, family are not welcome. And I was a bit taken aback at first. I'm like, Oh, geez, blister, that's a bit harsh.
Mm.
But she's a FIFO worker, been doing it forever, in between jobs herself, setting up her own branding and everything, and has picked up the mental health of people, just their that's a word that gets bandied around quite a lot.
Yeah.
You're the psychologist, not me. But the well-being of someone who's a FIFO worker who's been retrenched, put off, can't get another job at the moment, and like we're talking about now, is home, totally out of routine. They need to sit down with other people who are going through it, or I don't know if they have to have been not working. They might be able to come even if they are working. I don't know what the rules are.
Yeah.
But I know that it's a good idea to have something like that in place as well.
The support network, the support network, as well as the other partner. They have their own thing as well, because they're going through it in a different way. So that's what we were saying before about creating those teams around your family. Who is your support network in different situations? And also being able to clearly communicate to your partner, I need to take these time out with my mates who are also going through the same thing. It's not that you're not helping me. It's just that I need to sit down with them and hear their story for an hour a week. And see what's happening, get connected with them, so that the other partner doesn't feel like they're useless or their husband or wife is running away from them.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think for a minute that it's about, going and getting on it or anything. I think it was in a park in Mandurah.
Oh, 100%.
And a picnic kind of set up, and let's just meet and see how this goes.
Idea. And we all need support networks. It's how we thrive.
And survive through living the FIFO lifestyle.
Exactly right.
Did you think I got that from episode 1?
I think so. Very good.
So if they're working up towards retirement, for example, that's all they've known for 40, 50 years, some people.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who are like that, and they're about to retire. I was actually talking to a fella the other night because I've gone home to a mine, and I said, oh, you know, how much longer till you retire? And he said, oh, a couple of years. And what are you going to do? And he's setting up the caravan, and they've got a plan. And, I said, are you getting a few practice runs in? Because I have known a few people that wait to live the life, and then they've left it too long, they're a bit old, something happens, they break their hip and they can't go anywhere, I don't think that'll happen to him, but you never know. You still got to live life now, not just always be planning for when you do get out of FIFO life.
Sure.
What else is in that section that you'd like to share with us?
It's the interviews, the interviews with Aidan. And
that's right.
Yeah, with Aidan and Jeff about what their experiences were and what happened for them. I think that's very valuable. Like you said, with your sister, hearing from what the person that's coming from the mine is going through. Really, really important, and the adjustments they're feeling and making as well, and how did they get through it. And so it's really interesting. And everybody goes through it differently, but as a group, we can all be helping each other. Yeah, because it is an adjustment. And you might be wanting to come out, or you might have had to, like you said, leave. So that also is addressed a little bit differently as well, because you might have wanted to stay there, but there's been some changes at work, or you've been asked, contract's finished. So how have you prepared for that? How's the family prepared together? And have you both got your support network and your mates around you to help you through that?
And also it's a good opportunity to have a bit of a reset. Yep. Do we want me or you to look for work in that line again and go back and, how's it going?
And look at your financial preparations. Make sure that you have depending on what your asset situation or your liability situation's like, how can we handle this? What can we do about this with the least amount of stress?
Because let's face it, money is one of the biggest stresses for most people, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what you find in your research? The
conversations around money and the way we handle it, and sometimes it could just be the importance and the value people put on money. Money's there to buy you things, So what is it you're looking at buying and why are you looking at buying that? It's amazing how many people tend to downsize, not because they financially have to, but as they get older, they downsize because they realize the stuff isn't as meaningful as they thought it might be. So how are you downsizing or upsizing while you're in FIFO?
I heard a great saying years ago now, and I try to follow it, and it was people first, then money,
Yeah.
then things.
Yeah.
So, you're looking after, not necessarily looking after, but connecting and being with friends and family and everything to do with that. And money, as in you want to feel secure and
buys your stuff.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Because you need to eat.
But that's right. But the money side of it was more doing the right things with your money, not just blowing it on things, having it to set up security, to pay off your house. That was the money side of it. I think it was Susie Orman, the money lady, who I don't quite relate to anymore, but I really do like that word, that statement. And then things, like that's the stuff.
Yeah.
Do I need another Buddha or another dream catcher or or a new car or,
and just checking. A lot of people forget to check their retirement plan. They forget to check their super. They forget that it might be nice to have a rental house, but what is that taking or costing? Is that going to make you money? That sort of thing. And looking at the values of you as a family and what your wants and needs are as a family. And then everything else is cream on top of that. And just be careful to always leave the cream. Don't use it all.
Don't use it all. Yes. And all of those things you mentioned come under the money section. Superannuation and all, and that. And it's a really important thing because you can go into the FIFO life and, if you're on the big bucks, although they're kind of getting smaller, but if compared to a lot of other jobs that perhaps normal people could get to earn that kind of income as without, huge skills, realistically. I used to work in a pet shop. And then I drove a dump truck and was on over $100,000 a year. Woo, know. But you've got to be careful of that mentality. Oh, I'm rich miner. I think we might have discussed this a little bit last time, I'm not sure. But you end up paying for everyone and, and then before you know it, you're the one in debt. You have to stay in the mine forever and you got those golden handcuffs on, as they say. So it's something to be aware of, for sure.
When life after FIFO is just being mindful that you limit the financial stress because the readjustment is already going to be there and you'll be dealing with that. Just limit the financial stress. Plan ahead.
Yeah, great call. I think that's a great way to finish our epic conversation,
which we always
over
have.
3 months conversation. But in closing, do you have anything that you're super excited about right now that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. I'm still very, and will be for a while, super excited about my paper baby. And if you're looking to purchase it, you can go on to my website. It's in some bookshops. But you can go onto my website, www.unitywords.com.au/shop, and you can get your copy, either paper copy or digital copy there. You can also have a look at, and I'm very excited about this, I have 2 meditation and relaxation CDs on the market. I've been teaching meditation for 17 years and the benefits are just amazing. And so I have 2 guided meditation CDs to help you relax. And I also have created this year mindful boxes. So there's a choice of whichever CD, there's a candle, there is incense, there's a pack of the resilience cards in there, and I'm super excited to have those out. Over $42 worth, and it's free postage, and it's only $23. So great gifts for clients, teachers, family members. Pop over there, have a look at those, because it is really important to be relaxed, to stay mindful and in the moment, which will keep you emotionally and mentally strong to deal with anything that this life throws at you.
Absolutely. And for any of my friends and family who are listening, head over there, birthday coming up and Christmas, meditation CDs and little gift box with candles and I've got the cards. Are they the cards you
Yes,
sent me?
yeah, the cards.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm serious. You laugh, but I'm serious and they
I'm
know
happy with that.
it. Well, finally, it's time to say goodbye now, Kirsty. We could chat all day, and I have been known to. Thanks so much for being an awesome guest and my first return guest.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And remember, all the links we discussed in this episode are at madmumsy.com/beers23. That's madmumsy with a Z or a Z, depending where you're from, and the number 23. I would love you to please leave a rating and review on iTunes so more people can hear about the Beers with a Minor podcast. Head to madmumsy.com/iTunes to find the subscribe link and a video with me showing you how to do it if you're a little technically challenged. But if you're pretty savvy on that, just search for Beers with a Minor in your favourite podcast app. And of course, share with your mates. Thank you so much for listening. Until next week, stay safe, be real, be special, and have fun, for we only live once. Cheers.